talking about BPDD, and we're here with David via Skype on this interview. And so, David, how does BPD affect you, and exactly what is BPD?
Yeah, Ed. So, I do have borderline personality disorder, or BPD. I've had it for a number of years, and we've had a couple podcasts. We had one initially a couple months ago, and then you just published one on YouTube where we talked about abandonment. I do believe the first one we were talking about impulsive and destructive behaviors, right? So things around gambling, spending addiction, things of that nature. So if your audience hasn't listened to that one, I would highly recommend that one. Pretty raw, where we discussed about how abandonment impacts me today, how abandonment plays a role in the relationship with my wife, as well as with other people, and then how that ties into self-technology work, that we can connect face-to-face self-esteem in today's world.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, we've done a lot of podcasts together. You've helped me with mine. I helped you with yours. We've kind of directed ourselves into this bubble of BPD, which is one of your, afflictions. I have depression and anxiety, which I believe you also have with your BPD, and they can be heightened by BPD, or they can be by themselves, I believe.
Right. Yep.
Where I've been diagnosed with PTSD, and both depression and anxiety really play a high role in those things, because when you start looking at things that happened in my past, they bring up either anxiety or depression about either one of those things. And so it gets frustrating. But they both have a lot of similarities, both BPD and PTSD. So we kind of talked about that a little bit, but they are also completely different from each other. So
hang on, I would agree with you. So both borderline personality disorder and PTSD are similar, and they may be BPD may be renamed complex trauma anyway in the near future, which is essentially what PTSD is, and some sort of you've experienced or witnessed some sort of trauma, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So certainly I also have post-traumatic stress disorder. Starting in childhood and moving into our adult lives. So it really gives a great opportunity to relate to somebody else that deals with these types of issues. So I'm really happy that we've been able to connect and hopefully put together some meaningful stuff for others to know that they're not.
I'm really hoping that both we're helping ourselves, but yet we're also helping others, because that was the whole purpose of putting these together. First the podcast and now the YouTube videos, is that I just want to heal, and I've been really debilitated in the past 6 months, but yet I'm starting to recover now a little bit from it with the therapy that I've had and the podcasts that we've done together, and some serious self reflection.
Sure.
They've really helped me pull out some of the things that have been bothering me too. So
right, and I've been in dialectical behavioral therapy since around June, so about 6 months, and of course that is usually go through all the skills once in a 6-month period, and then next 6 months you do them again, and then you would graduate from the program. Most programs are a year, but just as you are working right through therapy as well, and I don't want to. Hopefully, I'm okay to say this, but you went through an intensive outpatient program.
I was just going to mention that too.
Yeah, so. And I went through an intensive outpatient program prior to starting DBT. They help, so we're in a different place, both you and I, than what we were 6 months ago.
Easily. I mean, I started with CBT in my intense therapy. I mean, I had it 3 times a week, 3 hours. So if you don't think that's intense therapy, I really don't know what is.
Right.
And on top of that, I also had a therapist. So I believe my therapy has definitely helped a lot. But now I'm just with the therapist, and we're doing
EMDR.
Electronic stimulation. So we're to start with. There's like 7 steps. Work with some of the memories that have caused my PTSD.
So are you? So you're doing bilateral stimulation? Is that what the tappers or what the light bar?
Nope, I have tappers.
You do? Yeah, I've done it both ways, and it's really helped me work through at least one of the traumatic events that I experienced, specifically a physical abuse situation. That happened on Thanksgiving Day a number of years ago. So, so I wish you certainly good success in that. I find it helpful, and I'll get back to it probably sometime next year.
A little break from that. Let's talk about, you were saying that you have done some self-harm. Is that one of the BPD symptoms that might happen?
Yeah, it is. It's actually common. And it's some weird statistic, and I apologize if I get it wrong, but it's like 1 out of every 10 borderline people diagnosed with borderline die by suicide. And wow. That's a big number. Usually
that is a huge number, David.
It starts with self-harm, right? And then because of the emotional pain, you engage in self-harm, which helps you, well, I shouldn't say helps you, but it distracts you or distracts you from the emotional pain, right? And then it takes more and more and more, or riskier and riskier self-harm behaviors to get that same fix, if you would. Kind of like if you're, a drinker or something, it takes, over time, it takes you more alcohol to get that same buzz. And then ultimately it ends up into more suicidal behavior. And often
BPD triggered the situation of the physical harm or suicidal tendencies or thoughts.
Oh, absolutely. So if you're struggling with things such as abandonment issues, right, which we talked about in our YouTube video, that can often lead to depression, right, which is not the same as borderline, right, but it can lead to depression. Low self-esteem or distorted image of self, right, is also one of the 9 symptoms, right?
Okay.
So for me, it's, I'm just, I'm worthless. I'm, nobody loves me. I can't do anything, good enough for anybody. I'm not worthy of, like any praise or any reward or not even. It impacts my Christian faith. Worthy
sure.
love,
Right?
Because I just don't feel worthy of Christ's love. I don't feel worthy of being forgiven.
DBT helps, and I have CBT as one of the trainings that I do. But truly, what helps so you can heal from that?
Right. So part of it is learning the lies, not believing the lies. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not believing the lies, but being able to identify. I said learning. I really meant identify. Being able to identify the lies that the mind is telling you. Right.
Okay.
So those things like I know it's more of a cognitive behavioral therapy perspective, but the automatic negative thoughts, right, which I think you
Right.
and I've talked about before, right? They're mental lies, and being able to notice them, the wave, let them go, right? So you just like ride the wave. You see. Okay, I notice it as the tide comes in, and I'm going to notice as they leave as the tide goes out, and not hang on to them. Right?
Okay. Right.
So one of the the DBT skills is don't last more than about 20 seconds or however long it lasts, and then you let them go, and then you can combat them. Go ahead.
Sure. I was gonna say, with the water theme or the ocean theme or the wave theme, my concern would be the undertow.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you've got the waves coming in and the waves going out, but it's the undertow that pulls you under, and you are bubbling down there, right? You're gasping for air. You're gasping to get back up to the surface. So that definitely is a great analogy of how those ants, those negative, thoughts run through your head. It gives you the opportunity to basically, like you said, let that wave go out. But if you get stuck under that undertow, it's gotta be just brutal.
Behavioral therapy skills that help with that are trying to build that pleasant event list, so you're able to do something that inspires positive feelings, whether it be happiness or pride or whatever the case may be, on a daily basis, right? So I don't know if your audience knows, but I know that you're very skilled in the kitchen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So creating, let's say you make a rack of ribs or something, right, that you're really proud of, or you smoke a brisket or something, you're really proud of that. And so it's building those kinds of positive things to help combat this distraction. So these feelings come in, and you want to distract from them so you don't get sucked into the undertow like you're talking about, right? So for me, it might be watching a TV show, right?
Sure.
Or
taking yourself
completely
away from what's
right. You're distracting your mind,
right?
So you're not getting sucked in.
See, I have a problem with that when I'm in bed. when the negative thoughts come strolling in my head is normally when I'm in bed, either when I'm about to go to sleep or I'm waking up.
Yep.
So it's difficult a little bit for me to let positive things rush through my head so that I can combat what's playing in my head. It's like a battle, an internal battle in my brain. And most time, and I know many people that have PSTD, DBT, all, everything that's out there, depression, anxiety, all those things, want to just grab those covers and put them over our head and just let it be black, let no light come in, because you can't. If light comes in, that means you have to respond somehow. If you're covered with a blanket over your head and you're shaking back and forth, or you're just going through that moment, that stress, that unbearable, miserable moment, and then light cracks in there, now it's reality. Now it's real. It's not
Right, because I deal with rumination, right, which is similar to what you're talking about, right? So it's either ruminating about the past, right, these things happen or whatever, or it's anxiety about the future, right? And the one thing that I find helpful is to ground myself in the moment, right? So using my 5 senses, it's like, okay, what are 5 things that I can see? What are 4 things that I can touch? What are 3 things I can smell? Right? Use all 5 of your senses and go. Maybe you can identify or notice the weight of your blanket. I'm not saying you have a weighted blanket, but maybe you've got a sheet or a quilt or something on top of you. Can you feel the weight of that on your body? Can you feel how the bed is supporting you so you're not falling on the floor? Can you smell? I don't know if you leave your windows open, but can you smell the crisp, clean air that may be coming through the window? Or can you maybe feel, if it's in the middle of the summer, can you maybe feel the heat of the sun rays cracking through the blinds? Things like that. And it keeps you right there in the moment versus, what the only thing that's reality is what's in the moment.
Right. For this episode, I think we shared a lot with our listeners. I think giving them that little bit of what they can do too, I think really helps. What would you say, if you had final couple minutes, what would you say to our listeners out there about how they can reach out, or what would you do if you were just having a miserable moment and you just didn't know what to do?
Yeah, so it's hard when you don't know what to do and you can't get out of that emotion mind and try to do something logical, right? So that's where counting backwards by 7 might help. Or, like I said, kind of notice what's going on in the moment and try to ground yourself in the moment. Anything that's going to engage your thinking brain to help you get out of that emotional mind that you're stuck in at the moment. So deep breathing is another great example, right? But counting your breath, right? So you can breathe and still be in emotion mind, but slowing down that breath, counting the breaths. Okay, count in 1, 2, 3, hold it 1, 2, 3, 4, let it go, count to 8, and do it over and over again. So it's anything, like I say, anything that can engage.
Well, my therapist added to your deep breathing. He gave me that too. But what he did is he said, vision or look at something that's a square. And so
Right.
when you're or a rectangle or
Mhm.
whatever, like so you breathe in, hold it, and then breathe out, and then go again. You just
Right.
so what that does, he says, is not only are you doing the breathing, which helps slow down your heart rate and helps you get your breathing back into a normal rhythm, but it's also taking your mind, like your sevens, counting backwards with sevens. It's making your mind concentrate on something else
Thanks
than
for
what's
listening
really
today.
disturbing you.
BPD Skills, and on my Edward Wren
Well, Dave,
channel.
this was
I thank you
fantastic.
so
I'm so
much.
glad we
Like
got
and
the time
subscribe.
today
Share
to
with
do
your
this.
friends. Share with people
And
that
we're going to
may
go
or you
ahead
may not
and
know that
stop it
need this
here.
skill.
And we can work on
Thank you
another
so
one at
much
another
again,
time.
and
All right. Sounds
leave
great,
any
Ed.
comments.
Take care.